right, let's get into some of our post-race talking points because nobody was talking about the race and winning. Everybody was talking about this. So let me get it all up. You can go ahead, Max, while I bring this up. And let's talk about what the drama was all about. I pissed people off by saying it was 50-50, but what people didn't really, I actually want to put this big screen, Max, so I can see it better. So I'm going to put it to the very big screen. So when I made that post on Facebook, I did 50-50. One, because RC Racing TV did it on their reel. And I was just like, I put 50-50 and I went like this afterwards. I can't do it with both arms, but I went like that. Like, that's saying, like, what up? And another reason I said it is because that's Canas's favorite statement after he took out Runner Folk back in 2019 at RCGP in Austria. I think it was 50-50. But so let's play this and then we'll get into it because, oh my goodness, people were upset. Like the S-Works, We Are Stronger crew were not happy. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to slow it down. We're going to go back. Man, the S-Works people were upset. Rightfully so. I get it why they're upset. And they have a right to be upset. So we're going to slow it down. Hold on. Let's go back. And let's slow it down, Maxi. And we're going to go to about 0.5 speed. Let's go. Maybe I have to go a little slower. Ooh, wow. They are neck and neck. Ongaro is looking, man. He wants to get by him.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, when you look at it like this, it looks wild. But let me explain why it looks so wild. So basically, in the previous corner, Canas, first of all, Canas jumps really wide here. So he jumps to the outside. Ongaro jumps to the inside, basically a normal line. Ongaro, I don't know if he touches, but he almost touches. And Canas gets a weird exit because he avoids Ongaro. So instead of being on the inside line here, coming into the hip jump, left-hander hip jump, he is on the middle of the track. So take it back just a little bit from here. So if you look at Canas's car, right after the 6 McBana, there's this little bump. That's where Ongaro's car is right now. But because Canas came on the middle of the track, his car lifts up. So you can see it after the 6 McBana. Here, his car lifts up. So he's on 2 wheels right here. So what happens here, Ongaro even said it himself. He said that I saw Canas was on 2 wheels. So this is what he saw. He saw that Canas was on 2 wheels. And right now, Ongaro, usually at this point, he would still be on full throttle, but then lift off after the bump. But instead, what he does here is he stays on power and shoots to the inside. Whereas Canas, because he went up on 2 wheels, he has to check up on the hip jump. So he goes up on 2 wheels, checks up, and corrects his car so he can go on power. Whereas Ongaro saw that Canas was not on his best line and decided to take a chance. And if you look at this from here, if Canas was a car length further back, Ongaro would have made a clean pass, which would have been incredible. Canas would have made a mistake, Ongaro would have been a clean pass. But the reality is Canas was not a car length behind here. He was exactly here. And this is basically what happened. Canas went over that bump, had to check up. Ongaro saw that Canas went over that bump, and he knew that there was some kind of chance. And he took a huge risk going faster than usually into this corner, shooting up to the inside. Normally he would lift up, now he kept on power. So the idea was that he would reach the corner apex before Canas reached the corner apex. But he didn't. and this is what happened. Ongaro went over Canas, and I think in the final moment here, when he approaches the hip jump, when the car lifts off the ground, he realizes that, oh shit, that he's not actually in the apex before Canas, and he turns like way more than he should to try to, avoid Canas. But obviously, if you're coming in full tilt, there's nothing you can do. So that's why he actually goes into Canas with his rear. Like if you play from now, you can see that the rear end of Ongaro's car steps out. And the reason why that happens is because Ongaro overcorrects because he realizes that he's in the corner later on than he thought it would be. So in reality, it's quite a simple thing. Ongaro saw a gap, but it was way too far. Um, Canas made a small mistake, yes, but Ongaro came from way further behind. And I think the only way to classify this is to say that, Ongaro took a bit of a long shot, definitely a long shot, and just straight up rammed rammed Canas. Um, I, if you see that any other way, you should get your eyes checked. That's
Well,
my
I
take.
would agree that he took him out. He did take him out.
Yeah, yeah,
But he has to shoot for that, right? I see what he saw. I
yeah,
see what he saw. If you because that's the first time I'm actually seeing it on a big screen, right? And I
yeah,
was able to slow it down and see. I see what he was trying to do. You see Canas getting squarely, and he shot for it. Then he releases like he's like he gets half in. There's like, oh shit, like he's coming
yeah,
back. And Canas was like, oh shit, too, and I gotta fend this off, right? So now it comes. We are convinced that uh you and I both agree that this was a takeout by Ongaro, right? We agree
yeah,
with that. Yeah. Okay. Now, what I don't agree with, and but I can see why people think this, is the conspiracy about he did this on purpose in order to take Canas off his game. Nobody will ever know if that is true besides Ongaro and his father, right? I'm sure. If that's true. I talked to some guys and they said that they talked to Canas and I'm sorry, Ongaro, and he said he didn't do it on purpose. And a lot of people are like, well, what was you thinking? I see what he was thinking. Because
yeah. It looks worse than it is. It
yeah,
definitely looks worse than it is.
but what it did was it shook up Canas enough, right? And he got that second place. And I know people can disagree with me because one of my friends, he messaged me. We had a conversation about this, and I can see his point. I can see why people thought this was on purpose, right? And we'll never know if it was on purpose or not. He did get penalized. He did wait. But by that time, the damage is done, right? Coelho is going by. Norman Muhammad's going by. And then Canas has to get back and do it. Canas did get squarely. He did get out of control. He did get off his line. And then when he realized he had to get back on there, like you said, had Canas been a car length behind, Ongaro would have been one of the best passes ever, right?
Yeah,
And I think if you look at it, if you go back on that lap, you can see where Ongaro is really pressuring Canas into making
he
that
is.
mistake,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Into making that mistake, and he did, but he took him out. Do I think it was nefariously and on purpose? I love me a good conspiracy theory, but I don't think so. I think he just went shot for the gap like any other racer would do, right?
yeah.
And when he
I
got in the
think.
middle of the corner, he realized that, oh shit, it ain't there.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree that was what basically what happened. And the reason, because I watched the after the incident, I watched the first main again and how they both went to that corner. Ongaro was significantly faster in that section of the track. So the sort of hip jump to the left and the double after it. Ongaro was faster than Canas. So he knew that was a strong spot. And then you look at the lap before that, Ongaro is closing in on each corner, trying to put pressure, trying to throw Canas off his game. So Ongaro was attacking. He knew there was under 2 minutes to go. Um, and when he saw Canas finally make a mistake, after pressuring him and getting really close, like you saw in that corner before. He thought that now the gap opened up and this is my section of the track. And I think that's why he went for that gap, even though it was really far back when he went for it. Um, but that all being said, if it was on purpose, he wouldn't do it on that high speed section of the track. Why would you do it? Because when it's high speed, there's like a 99% chance you both are going to crash. Um, so if you wanted to throw your competitor off the game, you would do it at a slow speed corner. You would do it at a really slow speed corner where the marshal is close by. So, for example, that corner before that, he would have hit him. Because then it would be the marshal is close by. If you crash, you could still be in front of Coelho. And there's a lot of pressure on Canas now because if he crashes on his own, he's going to drop to third or fourth. Um, but instead, this is a high speed corner. It's a high chance you break your car, he breaks his car. It looks worse like it did now. So if he did this on purpose, it's like ridiculously dumb, which we all know Ongaro isn't. Um, so I think it was he tried to pressure on Canas. He saw that Canas finally made a mistake and he shot for it. But here comes the critique now to Ongaro. That wasn't a realistic gap at any point. You like sure it opened up, but if it actually was a full on mistake from Canas, he didn't have to shoot in that hard. So if Canas was going to make a mistake, Ongaro could have ran the corner normally, which he didn't do. Then if you're gonna do a risky overtake like that, you have to be sure that you are not losing places. Because like even Ongaro, like imagine if he had a breakage in A2 or in A3, if he ran out of battery or his speedo broke or whatever, something could break. Now you're basically out of top 5. Like Ongaro would have dropped to like 6th or something. So it's a very inconsiderate move, you know, in all ways. And for make an inconsiderate move deliberately, no way. It's like there's no way.
Well, and I thought there would surely be some kerfuffle on the stand, but our good friend Will was there, and he said they had words, but it was not like a show. Obviously, of course,
Yeah,
they had words, but I think the damage was done by that time,
yeah,
right? Canas was mentally screwed. We saw that in A2, and that's something that Canas has to work on, right? He has to be
yeah,
able to keep
yeah.
that emotions in check and all that stuff. And I know it's very difficult